for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Good afternoon. Yes, it's a little different time for the Garden Guide as we've had to make another slight adjustment for the Utah State Aggie football team, which, as we've said before, no problem.
We are happy to do it.
No problem.
Happy to do it.
But traditionally, we are here in the morning, and this afternoon, we're once again talking gardening, we're talking lawns, and it is the Garden Guide with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. I'm Will Feelwright. We have a special guest who's going to be joining us on the show coming up in just a few minutes as we're talking lawns for the show. It's something a lot of us, as we're transitioning now into the fall months, that we kind of start focusing and moving that focus from our garden back to our lawn. But first, Mark, we've just got to talk about what an event last weekend was with the Center Street Giant Pumpkin Festival.
It was so much fun. You know, we did a live broadcast from there at the festival.
First time ever for the Garden Guide.
and then everybody showed up, and it was a giant party. It was so much fun. Our grand champion, our heavyweight champion, the Center Street Giant, weighed in at 1,784 pounds.
It's incredible, almost a ton.
And it was a gorgeous pumpkin too. Most of the time you get those winners, and they're just kind of odd shaped, and they're not a very pretty color. And this one was like round and orange and
bright orange.
Oh yeah, and it was a great looking pumpkin. And he was from Wyoming. He was just excited. My wife got to spend a lot of the afternoon with him just taking pictures for people with his pumpkin, and they just had a blast. They had so much fun. But just coming to Center Street and seeing all of those giant pumpkins, and I think we had 6 that came in over 1,000 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was for us. It was a spectacular success just to have that many people show up. Everybody was just having fun checking out the pumpkins. We had the weigh off. We crowned a winner, and you could get some food. You could have fun with the kids with the face painting or the scavenger hunt. I mean, we just had so many different activities. The pumpkin decorating, I think we ran out of pumpkins about 1:30.
Yeah,
because we just didn't know that was going to be that many people there. So.
Yeah, when you say everybody showed up, you literally mean
like everybody showed up.
Yeah.
And if you missed out, I'm so sorry, because it really was a fun event. But we're already planning for next year. We're going to do it again. So
it was just such a fun environment just to walk around, and the pumpkin carving. I think that was one of the things my daughters loved.
That was so cool. Yeah, that was so cool. So we brought a carver in from Salt Lake, and then we had one that was local here, and they were both working on carvings, and everybody just stood there and just watched them carve, because they were carving like 400-pound pumpkins. So they were big pumpkins for them to carve.
And this wasn't the kind of carving you and I did when you'd cut a little triangle.
Oh, no.
I mean, the one who did the ogre face, I mean, that
was really cool, wasn't it? Yeah, it's starting to deteriorate. It's a week old, and so he told me it would last about 4 or 5 days. We've got 7 out of it, and it's like this weekend it's probably going to go in the dumpster, unfortunately. I wish we could have shellacked it or something, but that poor little pumpkin's going to deteriorate underneath. Yeah.
Well, in the carving they did, it was more like shaving.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a 3D carve.
It was
incredible.
so cool. Yeah, it was so cool. So the pumpkin carver was a big hit. We had so many activities for the kids going on, whether you're decorating pumpkins or you were doing a paint project, or there were some really cool art projects for the kids to do as well too, that a couple of our vendors brought. But great booths to look at. There were some really fun gifty items and just tons of food to choose from. So it seems like everybody just had a blast coming and watching them weigh those big pumpkins was pretty cool.
Plus, on top of that, we cut the ribbon, and the downtown plaza
Yes,
is
for the
officially
plaza,
open.
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
just kind of fun to walk through that and see that it's now done.
Hey, they had some really cool kids activities going on over at the plaza too. So
Yeah.
they did putt pumpkin. And which was actually it was
And
really
Connect
cute.
Four
Yeah, they had some fun stuff going on there, and I think they had the splash pad going as well too because the weather was so great. So it was fun to see that happen. I know the plaza is not 100% done, but it was great to have some activities going on over there as well too. So for us, just a great success. We had amazing sponsors with Cache Valley Bank and Anglin Volkers, and Logan City stepped up and really helped us a lot. And so did the Cache Visitors Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce. We couldn't have asked for better sponsors and better helpers. So yeah, it was great.
You throw quite a party, Mark.
We try and have the best parties around.
It was a party. So,
well, we are planning ahead for next year already. So if you're listening and you want to participate, you thought it was a really cool event, we always need sponsors. We're always looking for more food trucks. We're always looking for more vendors. Any way that anybody wants to help out, we're open to your assistance.
And I saw your pumpkin weighed in at about 200?
Not quite. I was hoping
Almost?
for 200. I think it ended up at like 141, which was still big, but I didn't really put much effort into it. So next year we're going to start, and we're going to start early. And I'm thinking already at the Home and Garden Show, we're going to bring the Pumpkin Growers Association and get people excited about it.
Yeah,
because it's a good time to start thinking about starting your pumpkin.
Getting your seeds.
Yeah, so those growers, they're usually starting their seeds the first part of April, and they're transplanting outside by mid to late April, and this would be perfect. Yeah, it'd be absolutely perfect. So
now I saw one of the growers. He had 2 milk jugs. Attached to a pumpkin. I mean, just to kind of show you how much those pumpkins are consuming.
So this is the deal. Once they cut those, they can still absorb about 10 pounds of water for 24 hours after you cut them off the vines. So those growers will cut them off the vines. They'll get them over to to their trailer or truck or wherever they put them, and then they'll put water on them, and they'll absorb more water. They'll take on more water. Yeah, so interesting, isn't it? And I'll just absorb that up. So they don't want to lose a single pound when they're transporting them. So we saw those vines, stuck in gallon milk bottles full of water.
It's amazing.
I know, it's kind of crazy,
really
isn't
cool.
it? But it was fun. It was really fun to get to know all the growers and figure out where they're coming from and how much time and effort they put into it and how much they just really love doing it. And for us, that was very rewarding. That was really a lot of fun.
And it was a great success. Just fun to see everybody down there.
Yeah, it was. Really was. I spent the whole day pretty much just wandering around and just talking to people and just finding out what they were doing, how much fun they were having, and just letting people know that this is a great event. It was a great day to be outside. The weather was perfect, and we couldn't ask for better conditions.
And I think your wife took enough photographs to become a professional
I think
photographer.
she took 1,000 photos for people at the pumpkin. That pumpkin's name was Marion, and so Marion got her photo taken many times. Yeah, it was great. It was great.
Well, as we were mentioning, as a lot of us now are kind of harvesting off the garden, our focus is turning back to our lawns. And so with that, we have a special guest joining us.
We do. We have Doug with Agrono Tech Seed. Doug, thanks for joining us on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's always great to have you here, and fall is a great time to start thinking about rejuvenating lawn, fertilizing. A lot of weeds this year. I don't know if you had a lot of weeds in your lawn, but Cache Valley weeds have been out of control.
Well, that's a density problem, and if people have a lot of weeds in their lawn, they need to overseed, get the density up, and choke the weeds out.
Get some new grass growing in there. So we usually will recommend they really get after the weeds that they've got with, say, Weed-Free Zone from Fertilome, which will take out all your broadleaf weeds, but won't hurt your turf at all. So they take care of dandelions and clover and mallow and thistle. But your hard ones like morning glory and wild violets, we can get rid of those. But then it leaves a little space for weeds to come back. But if you overseed, you can take care of that.
That's exactly right. And most people don't think about when they aerify that they need to put some seed in those holes, and when they kill their weeds, they need to put some seed to take up that space. So you're exactly right. Put in what you want and get rid of what you don't.
Yeah. And what we're finding is that if you're going to overseed after you've aerated or after you've sprayed for weeds, great time where the soil temperature is really warm and nice. We're going to get some good germination. How much seed are you recommending per, say, 1,000 square feet to overseed?
Well, it depends on the mix, but as a general rule, blue rye mixes in the 3 to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Like Mark's mix, 6 to 8 pounds per 1,000 square feet. It all has to do with the size of the seed and the number of seeds you're getting in a given pound, and so those are good numbers. And nothing wrong with having what we call a seed bank, where the seeds will just lay dormant there, and when conditions are proper, they'll germinate. You'll have some loss factor due to weather conditions or water,
erosion,
or whatever it might be. But the other thing that people have to remember is that when you overseed, your other grass is still growing. So you do not want to use a grass catcher after you overseed and for a period of time, so you don't suck all those seeds back into your grass catcher, and you don't get the benefits thereof.
Right. So mulch your grass after you've overseeded. So it'll put a little layer of mulch over the top of the seed, and maybe even germinate a little bit better.
Yeah, exactly. And but yeah, some people say, "Oh, nothing happened. I put it down and nothing happened." And then you ask the question, "Well, did you use a grass catcher after you put the seed down?" "Well, sure. I had to mow my lawn." Well, mulch it. Don't catch it.
Yeah, there you go. So not too bad. So pretty inexpensive. I mean, if you're talking 3 to 5 pounds per 1,000 square feet, you're really only looking at less than $30 to do 1,000 square feet. Then all of a sudden you've got all this brand new grass coming up amongst your older grass. Say you've got a grass in your turf that's 20 or 25 or even 30 years old. Incorporating some new varieties of grass into your turf is really going to make a big difference.
Huge difference. The plant breeders are doing tremendous things. They hear the environmentalists loud and clear. Environmentalists want grasses that have lower impact on the environment, don't need the fertilizers, don't need the bug killers and so forth and so on, better water consumption.
Right.
That's what they're breeding for. That's what they're making available. And yes, exactly. If you've got an older lawn, it's just like old technology. You just got to update it.
Absolutely. It's just like going out and getting a new car. Now it's got some nice features. So it's got the parking sensors, and it's got the backup camera, and it's got a lot of things that even though you like your old car, it's not quite the same.
No, that backup camera comes in pretty handy.
That's pretty
when
handy.
You're backing out of Costco.
Yeah. So we got one of your new. Well, I guess it's not a new mix, but it's a new for us. We brought in the Eden mix this year. That's very, very drought tolerant, and I've had quite a few customers planting that already, and they've been sending me pictures and bringing. It's like it looks amazing, Doug. It's really nice.
That's one I came up with many, many, many years ago, back in the 80s. We used it a lot in Southern California, but the whole reason was tall fescue by itself doesn't have any rhizomes. So we had to borrow the rhizomes of the bluegrass to fill in the bare spots. And we came up with it because of dogs. People have female dogs and they have smaller lawn areas, and those female dogs, well, they make those dead spots.
They kind of burn the grass a little bit. Yep, It does happen.
Yep. Yeah, they burn the grass, and so that with the salt tolerance of the tall fescue and the rhizomes of the bluegrass, it has just been an excellent combination. And then you get into the technicality of drought tolerance and drought avoidance, and bluegrass has drought avoidance, and tall fescue has drought tolerance, and it makes for that really stressful period a lot easier and shorter because you've got the best of both worlds.
Right, and that's a dwarf tall fescue as well too. So it seems like the blades are quite comparable to the bluegrass. It's not as coarse and prickly to walk on as some of the tall fescues.
Exactly. They realized years ago that people wanted comfort over function, and so the plant breeders got the tall fescues to be very, very close to the bluegrass in texture.
Yeah.
So if you're out there barefooted or laying on it or whatever, I would challenge a lot of people to know the difference.
Yeah.
If they really didn't know that bluegrass is a boat-shaped leaf blade, tall fescue is a flat-bladed.
Flat blade, yeah.
They really, tall fescue gets misnamed. A lot of people call it bluegrass, but so it's come a long ways. It's becoming more and more popular in the Intermountain area, and if we really want to address our water usage and still have our cake and eat it too, we need to look at tall fescues, and it's a good way to go. The only thing that I wanted to say today on the radio for people is that those people who use that product or Mark's Mix, we're going to go into the winter here, and one thing that product is susceptible to is snow mold.
Right. Mm.
So when you're out there spraying for your voles or whatever, you need to spray a fungicide so you can have some protection against snow mold.
Now, we're talking with Douglas Washburn from Agrono Tech Seed Company, and a lot of us kind of are starting to look at our lawns as we're going into the cold months. As you mentioned, Doug, we got to deal with snow mold, but also
voles. He said the V word.
Oh, and they were horrible.
They were so bad
year.
this year. Yeah, there's some things we can do to prevent that from happening. And
Is there a certain combination? Like, do you have a certain set of steps? Like we've talked in the past, Mark and I and Doug. What are your thoughts about when you overseed to aerate at the same time?
Well, aeration is very important. So aeration, in the golf course world, those high maintenance turfs, they'll aerify a whole bunch. And but if a homeowner could do it, spring and fall, that would be really pretty good. But at least do it once a year, but aerification adds a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've found with our heavy clay soils, if you can do it once a year, and we prefer fall because it does a little bit less damage to the turf. It recovers better, and those plugs disappear. But adding some seed right after that, it just can fall down into those holes, and all of a sudden you've got all this brand new grass coming up. And even if the weather changes really quickly, Doug, right now we got amazing weather, and I'm looking at the forecast, and we've got like 70s, and it kind of cools down a little bit, but then we could have some 70s again in October. What if it just changes really fast and it's like 75, and then the next day it's like 50s, and then it starts to snow, and we get some cold weather, and your seed doesn't germinate, which are the best varieties to plant for fall? And if they don't come up, they'll come up again next year.
Well, bluegrass has the sod producers will do what's called a dormant seeding, and they'll actually plant in December.
Really late.
Knowing that, snow creates an insulator as well,
Right.
So the thing that's critical, we're on top of the grass and we're frigid and we're cold. But soil temperatures go down a little slower than ambient temperature. So, we've waited all year for these soil temperatures to get up. You talked about it earlier, but it's like cookies in the oven. You sit there and you warm up the oven so the cookies can cook and or bake. And right now the oven's warm; it's hot, and so the germination time is going to be reduced. The establishment rate is going to be increased. It's just ideal. I was talking to an individual earlier today about when the water districts shut off the secondary water.
Right.
And man, it would be so helpful if they would give us an extra 2 or 3 weeks, but they want to shut us off the middle of October.
Yeah. That's traditionally that's when they shut off secondary water, is about the first or second week of October. So, yeah. Right.
But man, if they could give us an extra 2 or 3 weeks, we could get a lot of stuff planted.
Yeah.
And
there's so many great new varieties that, like you said, do have insect resistance, disease resistance, drought tolerance, nice dark green color, soft texture, that you can replace your old lawn, and all of a sudden you don't have to put an insecticide on, you don't have to use fungicides very frequently, and you don't have to water nearly as much, and you've got the same, if not even better, grass than what you had before.
Yeah, the pendulum's going way too far. We can talk about, rocks and all that stuff, but we got to be really careful how far we push that pendulum. And we do want our air to be filtered. We want oxygen. 1,000 square feet of turf will produce enough oxygen to support 4 people. And so we sit here and talk about the rainforest being cut down and everything, but we can, through proper turf maintenance and everything, we can filter the air and cool the environment and do all kinds of wonderful things. And so we got to be careful about how much we make our environment a heat sink.
Yeah. If we rip all the turf out, and I'm convinced that it is much less expensive to convert your parking strip to a new drought tolerant type of grass than it is to tear it all out and re-landscape it. And we've got a new ordinance in Logan, and a lot of other communities in Cache Valley are looking at it too, to put in water-wise landscapes in the park strips, and people aren't doing that. They're just tearing all the plant material out and just putting down gravel, and lava rock, and it's like no, we gotta have plants in there. It's like it gets really hot if we just put rocks in there.
Yeah, and well, how about snow removal? And people really haven't experienced yet the pain that weeds and rocks are.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a chore.
Yep.
It's a chore, and if you get behind, you won't catch up.
You'll never catch up. Yeah. Hey, we're going to take a quick break, Doug. So
we got a lot more to talk about, and we'll answer some questions too. Coming up in the next break. You're listening to The Garden Guide here on KVNU.
I'm Bill Walter with this KVNU update. Utah State concluded the non-conference portion of its schedule in thrilling fashion. A potential game-tying extra point was blocked with 40 seconds remaining in the game to help the Aggies hold off UConn 34-33 in front of 21,000-some fans at Pratt & Whitney Stadium in East Hartford, Connecticut, Saturday afternoon. The blocked extra point came after the Huskies pulled to within one on a 1-yard touchdown run. The TD capped a 9-play, 85-yard drive for the hosts. Cooper Legas helped the Aggies rally from 17 down. The senior quarterback replaced starter McKay Hillstead in the third quarter after the freshman was injured on a late hit. Legas was 11 of 13 for 204 yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 52-yarder to junior wide receiver Jalen Royals. It gave Utah State the lead for good, 31-24, with 12:36 left in the game. Prior to being hurt, Hillstead was 6 of 11 for 111 yards and 1 TD to go along with 1 interception. Friday Night Lights saw the Oregon State Beavers hand the Utah Utes their first loss of the season, 21-7. But BYU beat the Cincinnati Bearcats in the Big 12, 35-27. Also a Friday evening game. High school football, Ridgeline won big at Logan, 52-14. Skyview remained perfect over Green Canyon, 21-7, and Mountain Crest over Bear River, 38-27. Increasing chance of showers as we go through the weekend. High in the mid-60s on Sunday, showers and upper 50s on Monday. For the latest news, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
From ABC Sports, I'm Joey Waller. College football, number 6 USC holds off a late comeback at Colorado.
3 receivers to the left, including Lloyd. Caleb pats the ball, throws over the middle, in stride, catching it, and into the end zone. Mario Williams, touchdown USC.
A 24-yarder Williams, 403 passing, 6 TD throws. Trojans radioed their 48-41 win. Buffaloes score the game's last 22 from late third on to no avail. Third quarter right now, Auburn 17-10 over top-ranked Georgia. Meanwhile, Michigan with a 35-10 bulge at Nebraska, Texas 26, Kansas 14. Missouri leads at Vanderbilt 17-7. Maryland 37-3 over Indiana. Purdue 23, Illinois 13. Texas Tech leads Houston 42-28. Central Florida 35, Baylor 10. And South Florida 23-23 tie at Navy. Ryder Cup, Europe, now leading the U.S. 10.5 to 5.5. This is ABC Sport.
The people have spoken. Steel-coated epoxy floors of Cache Valley is the 3-time gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah. Known for their extremely durable floor coating system, they can completely transform your concrete, garages and shops, porches and patios. They coat it all. With over 25 years of operation, Steel-coated epoxy floors is Cache Valley's premier coating professionals. Contact Steel-coated floors of Cache Valley today. Find them online at scfcachevalley.com or call 435-512-1284.
When it comes to protecting your vehicle, you deserve the very best. This is Matt Robbins with Quality First Insurance. We believe that protecting your vehicle should be affordable and hassle-free. As an independent auto owner's insurance agency, we have access to multiple insurance carriers and will give you options to ensure you get the auto policy that's right for you. Call us today for a free quote. Auto Owners and Quality First Insurance, 752-0101. For more information, go to q1ins.com.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online, qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
Recovery benefits everyone. Substance use and mental disorders can be treated. It all starts on day one. Join the Voices for Recovery. For information and treatment referral for you or someone you love, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
From gardening to landscaping, The Garden Guide with Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Welcome back to the Garden Guide on KVNU. I'm Will Feelwright, along with our guest, Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. And we also have Douglas Washburn from Agrono Tech Seed Company, who is joining us as we're talking lawns this afternoon for the show.
And it's kind of odd to have the show in the afternoon.
It is always a little different. This is the second time this year.
Yeah, but that's all right.
And we should mention, too, that coming up, we'll be kind of transitioning back to our normal programming that we would have during this weekend. The general conference will be coming up at 6 o'clock. We'll have Boss Financial coming up immediately after us, as they'll be talking finance. So, yeah, it's one of those days where we just kind of shift around a little bit for the Aggies.
And last week we talked about finance as well, too, because we were talking to Cache Valley Bank.
That's true.
And we said, hey, we need a loan to grow a giant pumpkin. How much are you going to loan us?
And after seeing those almost 1,800-pound pumpkins, I thought, that's got to take a lot of money.
It takes a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of money. But
now,
cool.
Before we get back to talking about lawns, this weekend over at Anderson Seed and Garden, what's been going on?
So we've got some gorgeous displays with pumpkins, obviously, since it is now so close to October. But we've got pumpkins of various sizes, shapes, colors. We've got some great pricing and some sales on those. And today we're doing a special where if you bring your kids in and your kids want to buy a pumpkin, we've got stickers for them to decorate their pumpkins with. So you buy a pumpkin and you can decorate your pumpkin for free. We're not carving, we're not painting, but we do have like markers and stickers and stuff, and so the kids can decorate up their pumpkins and take them home.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it last weekend for the Pumpkin Festival, and it was a blast. Everybody loved it, and so we thought we'd do it again.
Okay.
Yeah, since we ran out of pumpkins last week. But all of our bulbs finally came in. So we had our second half of our bulbs got stuck in customs, and so they finally showed up this week. So lots and lots of tulips to choose from, lots of daffodils to choose from, hyacinths, crocus, allium, whole bunch of different bulbs, and they look amazing, lots of different colors, and now's the time to plant. So great time for getting out and planting bulbs, whether it's tulips or even garlic. I think I've still got about 15 kinds of garlic in stock, so really good time to plant garlic as well. And from now until the time the ground freezes, which is usually sometime in mid-November or so, this is prime time for planting bulbs.
Okay.
Yeah, bulbs doesn't get any better, and also really good time to fertilize your lawn. So I'm doing mine this weekend. Yeah,
okay.
So this weekend. So time to throw a little fertilizer on. I've got a nice new natural slow release fertilizer. It's Unipel, so every pellet has the same amount of nutrient in it. It's called Pro Peat. And the Pro Peat has a lot of micronutrients. It's got a high dose of sulfur and iron in there to really green your lawn up. A natural slow release with a peat carbon base product in there, and it will release that nitrogen out very gradually, and you'll have a really great looking lawn, green looking lawn. We can help rejuvenate the grass after a hot, dry summer. So it makes a big difference.
And we're going to be getting into lawns here in just a minute, but we've talked in the past that if there's one time, if you can only fertilize your yard one time, best time to do it is in the next 6 weeks.
Yep. Usually
before the snow.
Usually we'll tell people between Halloween and Thanksgiving is the best time to throw your fertilizer on to get that grass to rejuvenate and look really good for next year, because we obviously like to fertilize multiple times throughout the year, but the most important one is in the fall to help that grass recover and rejuvenate itself and be prepared for next year. And as we've been talking on the show with Doug, it's a great time to put some new grass out there to get it to germinate. The soil's warm, get that new grass to come up, replace some of that old tired grass that you've had there for 20 or 30 years, and all of a sudden you'll have an amazing green, gorgeous new lawn with less water and fewer bug problems and less disease and all that fun stuff.
Doug, and it's great to have you on, and I've got a question for you, because you were talking about developing new grass seed and developing a new style or type of grass seed. I mean, that's not just something that you just kind of mix up in the garage and kind of throw out. This has got to be a huge process. Can you walk us through what goes into coming up with a new grass seed?
Well, sure. It's it takes about 8 to 10 years for a plant breeder to come up with a new variety of bluegrass or tall fescue or whatever. And so what they do is they take these space plantings. They'll plant these grasses in, space plantings that are anywhere from 15 to 24 inches apart.
Mm-hmm.
And they allow these grasses to cross-pollinate, and then they take the progeny off of those, and they space plant them. I mean, they're looking for color. They're looking for diseases that they might be susceptible to. They're looking for bug resistance. They're looking at growth rate, but they're also looking at seed yields. There's not going to be a variety produced if the farmer cannot get a decent yield to make it economically positive for him.
And that's something that people don't think about, too. It's like, it's created this really wonderful grass, but if that grass doesn't produce seed, it's not really helpful.
No, it'll eventually kill itself off.
Yeah, so.
So there's several things. So they go through these replications and for a number of years, and then they finally get something, and they say, "Okay, farmer, I've got 1 pound of this seed that they've hand collected off this," and they give it to a farmer who now has to replicate it to 1 pound. They usually plant at 5 pounds per acre. So you get a quarter of an acre, and you've got to let that grow and harvest the seed off of that, and now you've got enough seed to maybe do 50 acres.
Yeah.
And then that takes from 1 to 3 years to get enough seed produced, so you can finally come to the market and say, okay, we've got so it takes 8 to 10 years to have a variety. So if you're a plant breeder and you're started in your 20s, and of course you don't just focus on one, but let's say, in a 40-year work span, you've developed 4 varieties, right?
That's a life's work.
That is.
Yeah, that's a life's work, yeah.
But then considering...
And so we finally get it to Mark's place, and he puts his price on it, and you think about all that has gone into that, the development, the harvesting, the hauling, the cleaning, the bagging, the transportation, and all this stuff, and it's whatever it is, you go, what a value.
Yeah, it's $7 a pound. It's like, dang, that's like so inexpensive for all the work and effort that goes into it. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the story as to how this stuff comes to be. I mean, they've got stuff over at the Utah State Ag Extension, or not, what is it, the experimental?
Right, the experimental farm,
Yeah, they're developing new varieties over there. You can go right over there and
watch it happen.
And Utah State will get the royalties off of that particular variety. But they've come up with a lot of wheatgrasses and all kinds of things over there that eventually comes back to their research program through royalties.
Right. Yeah. And it's hard to imagine. It's like, okay, we're spending, let's say, $30 for 1,000 square feet, but once you really get that grass established, it's going to stick around for a long time. I mean, so it's an investment, but it's an investment that's going to pay dividends for years and years and years. And then when something newer comes out that's even better, that takes less water or resists more insects, or it's greener and softer and nicer and needs to be mowed less frequently, it's easy to change it out and put something new in.
Very easy. And you think about a lawn. everything that it brings to the party, the exercise that we get from mowing it, the clean air that we get from the filtration. I mean, I was watching something on TV and they were talking about, putting in that rocks in the drainage area or in the parking strip, and they were talking about how it filters the water. Well, geez, grass does that.
Yeah, even better.
Yeah,
even better. It traps some dust and it traps that heavy rainstorm that comes down. It keeps that and pulls it down in the soil, so we get to retain all that moisture instead of it just running off. So
now, Doug, one of the
exactly. I had a friend that lives in a kind of a steep environment and stuff, and she was talking about how all these rocks were running into the street because they went with the water flow.
They run off.
Well, I mean, that doesn't happen to grass.
Yeah.
It stays there. It keeps your slope intact as well, too. You got a question?
That's erosion.
Yeah, you got a question, Will.
Doug, we saw this year a lot of insect damage throughout this area, especially with grasshoppers. And are you finding there's certain grass types that tend to repel insects better or are more resilient to insect damage than other types?
Well, the turf-type tall fescues and the perennial ryegrasses are bred with a fungus which is called an endophyte. And the grass is a host, and it just sits in there, and they're just kind of enjoying life together. But when the chewing insects like billbugs and chinch bugs and those kind of grubs and stuff, they start chewing on those plants, that endophyte gets into the digestive tract of those insects, and it kills them. So that's a built-in insecticide. Now, bluegrass will not, it cannot harbor the endophytes for some reason. There's no endophyte that will live inside bluegrass. So your bluegrasses are the ones that get damaged.
Yeah.
More so than perennial rye.
And the billbugs and the grubs love them. They taste delicious. So, yeah.
Right. So again, with the Eden product or Mark's Mix, these are lawns that are going to be very low maintenance, and they're just going to provide a lot for you. And so go with those. And the bluegrass, the great thing that bluegrass brings to the party is the rhizomes. And they come in handy on occasion if you've got something that's going to cause some damage and you need that creeping action to fill in a bare spot. But I don't know. I think that for the most part, clumping grasses, which tall fescue and perennial ryegrasses are, you're going to get a better root structure. And tall fescue will go down 3 to 5 feet, especially those of you who are up on the bench and have sandy soil. You need something that goes deep for the water.
Yeah, it's amazing how deep the root system is on that grass. It's just, it's unreal.
And then, I hate to tell the concrete guys this, but you really don't need a concrete border that keeps the grass from being in the living room. You can eliminate the concrete border if you have grasses that don't creep, which tall fescue and perennial ryegrass, i.e. Mark's Mix, is.
Yeah, it doesn't creep as much, so it doesn't end up in the flower beds for sure. So kind of like your bluegrass just finds its way underneath the edging and ends up everywhere. But
yeah,
that's what it's made to do.
I think our forefathers had a pocket full of bluegrass seed, and when they got here, that's what they used. And but it's time to evaluate that and introduce some new stuff and have a better life than what they had.
Yeah, I've got so many customers that come in and they're struggling with insect damage throughout the year, and they're putting 2 insecticides on throughout the season and spending $50 to $100 with each application. And it's just like, for a couple $100, we can just like introduce this new grass into your turf, and after a couple of years of doing that, you can probably stop putting the insecticide on because it's going to take care of the insects automatically. And they're like, what? I can do that? It's like, yeah, that's a great way to go. And your grass can look really good when it's hot and dry out there, and it's not going to stress as much. So, God, there's so many great options, Doug, and we've been able to build a great relationship with you over the years. But for you to introduce a lot of these newer varieties to us, it's been very rewarding for us as as a garden center to be able to offer those to our customers.
Well, I want to take my hat off to you, Mark. In this world of selling grass seed, there's people who are on the cutting edge and want to do right by their customers, and you've done a great job, and you continue to do a great job of maybe at your own expense sometimes, but because if you sell grass seed like this, you're not going to sell as much insecticide,
Absolutely.
But you care about the customers, and you want to do right by them, and that says a lot about your organization.
Yeah. Well, we want our customers and our homeowners here in the valley to be successful. And when they're using the best varieties of grass out there, you can tell the difference. Like when you grow it and you start getting out there and you're walking on it, and you don't have to water it as much. It's very evident very quickly. So we have a lot of people come back and they're just super happy with the grass seed that they've got, and they're happy with the value that they've received for how much money they spent for it as well too. So it's great to have some really nice options for our customers as well. So
yeah. Well, it was really funny. This summer, as you know, I was in the Pacific Northwest, and I was in the heart of the grass seed growing capital of the world, Linn County, there by Corvallis, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this new YMCA center, and then I go over to this Podunk High School, and they've got artificial turf out there on their football field. I'm going, this is just ridiculous.
Right in the middle of grass, grass central, and
exactly
artificial turf. But,
yeah, and there was another funny thing that up there in Portland, they were crying about this artificial field that had been around for 8-10 years, and it wouldn't take they do these tests on for concoctions or whatever, and so they covered up with all those black rubber deals trying to get it to pass, and they couldn't get it to pass. So now they're going to go spend over $500,000 to redo it.
Yeah, well, what a waste.
That's a lot.
Yeah, they're going to spend $500,000 to fix it.
Well, and you brought it up. We're talking with Douglas Washburn of Agrono Tech Seed Company here with Mark Anderson of Anderson Seed and Garden. That, over the years, Anderson Seed and Garden has been known to many of us as the place to go when you have questions about your lawn, when you have questions about your garden, and really, when someone improves their lawn, everybody wins.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could say it's a tip of the hat to Anderson Seed and Garden, but think of the water that's conserved.
Right.
Think of just the overall environment. We talk about just how it keeps the temperatures cooler. Everybody wins.
Yep, creates oxygen. Really makes a big difference when everybody kind of pitches in and just takes care of their yard. And most of these grasses don't take a whole lot of maintenance. They don't take a whole lot of maintenance. You got to fertilize a little bit. You got to water a little bit. You got to mow a little bit, but it pays off in the end.
But in some cases, you'll find yourself watering less. Which is a huge plus.
Yeah, to keep that yard.
Yeah, we've come a long ways from what our forefathers did, and So, yeah, let's improve ourselves by choosing better varieties and stuff.
Yep. So let's keep it rolling. So great time to aerate your turf. Great time to control weeds, and we've got some excellent weed control options. But at the same time, wonderful time to overseed, to introduce some new varieties of grass into your turf, and a little bit of fertilizer to get that new grass going, or to perk your old grass up. This is a prime time for doing it. So we're kind of in between our step number 4 and step number 5 on our lawn care program, but we're kind of moving into that fall time when we can start dropping our mower blade down a little bit, and we can start decreasing the amount of water that we're putting out there. It's a great time to get a good slow release nitrogen to feed your grass and get it to recuperate for next year. Any other suggestions for a good fall treatment, Doug?
No, I liked what I just heard about lowering the cutting height. Yeah. You want to increase the density. The shorter you mow your turf, the denser it's going to be. So density is important. So, yeah, that's a good thing to do.
And vole prevention. We saw a lot of vole damage this year. So as you drop your mower blade, we like to get it really close by November. So drop it down about as low as it'll go. We like to almost scalp it in November and put a little mole repellent out there to drive the voles somewhere else, and compact your snow down around the exterior property. Yeah, once we get snow out there, if you can compact that snow, then the voles can't get underneath and have a party all winter long, and that really, really makes a difference as well too. So, yeah, and some baits. So, any other last thoughts? We're kind of getting down to the end of the show. We got just a couple of minutes left, Doug. Any last quick thoughts?
No, I don't have any. You've covered it well.
We covered a lot of. Yeah, we covered a lot of topics. So we will look forward to seeing hopefully some new varieties of grass coming in the near future. But at Anderson's, we're excited to offer some of the cutting edge varieties of grass that are out there that will make life easier for our grass growers here in Cache Valley. So whether it's drought tolerance that you're looking for, or a beautiful, lush, soft grass to walk on, insect resistance, disease resistance, shade tolerance. Yeah, we've got the variety to help with that particular problem, and in many cases it'll work on all of those problems. So that's the best part.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the best part. Doug, thanks so much for being on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your expertise and just the process that you shared with us on how those new varieties are developed and get to market. It's so interesting. So thanks for being with us today, Doug.
Thank you very much, Mark. Have a good day.
You too. At Anderson's this weekend, we had mentioned it is bulb season, so it's a great time to get in and check out the tulips, daffodils, hyacinths, and see all the new varieties of bulbs we have at Anderson Seed. Every color you can basically imagine. We've got garlic bulbs. It's a great time to fertilize your lawn, great time to get after weeds, and we can help you with your harvest season as well too. It's time to get all those plants harvested, and we're going to have frost here in the near future. So yeah,
it's coming.
Time to get your squash in, your pumpkins, your onions, potatoes. Get them all harvested.
Plus, also bring the kids down during the next hour, and they can decorate a pumpkin.
Pumpkin decorating at Anderson Seed and Garden. We can still do that today. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for Doug joining us from Agrono Tech Seed Company, and we'll be back again next week for the Garden Guide here on KVNU.
Your station for the Aggies. News Talk KVNU Logan, 102 FM, 610 AM, and on Alexa, Google, online, or the app. The home for the Aggies.